So what I did was I went ahead and changed up my buttonhole foot just so that everything is compatible with my machine. I was getting a little nervous just because you should always use the proper equipment that came with your machine. Now what we're going to do is, again, you're going to follow the instructions that are outlined in your manual, just for starting your placing and stuff, because mine, it tells me to start at the front of my buttonhole. For the manual for the machines in class, it says to start at the back. So follow the manual according to your sewing machine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this buttonhole foot so that my needle, when I insert it, comes down into the center of my line that is this kind of T-bar cross that is 1/8 of an inch over from my center front. So that's where I'm going to start. Make sure that when your needle goes down into this fabric, that it is going in on that T-bar on the very end where you need to go. So I'm going to go ahead and reset my machine so that it is ready to go for this buttonhole, and I'm going to go ahead and lower my needle into the fabric and just start stitching. The machine will follow that line. I just need to help guide it. And there's this little kind of like M-shaped curvature along the bottom. Let me see if I can show you on this other foot. You can kind of see it barely, but right along the bottom of this white piece there is almost like a T or an M shaped. I mean, it's very slight, but there's a guide that is taken out of that plastic piece, and that's what you're going to be using your guide for, making sure that your markings, the center of your buttonhole, is riding right along the center of that guide there. So if you're like, if you're not for sure exactly where this is at on your buttonhole foot, let me know and I can make sure that you see that. Okay. Oh no! Ah, my buttonhole thing moved, and that's because I took my pin out. Okay, I can see my marking. It's just still back there. All right, I'm gonna have to do a reset on mine real quick, because mine is very it's very sensory, which kind of sounds funny. But I know that I'm getting close to that end marking. Alright, and there it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to the next point. So you're going to want to turn your knob at this point, and my machine does a straight stitch up to the front. It's not going to want to. I have to do a couple of resets here because I lifted up my presser foot, which is the story of our life, right? Alright. Okay, what I have to do is I'm going to have to re-sew this line because my sensor kind of got all messed up. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of restart this this stitch line. Oops. And I'm just going to sew over this zigzag. I know, right? This is why you always do a practice. But I changed up my presser feet and it's different. So I'm just going to re-sew over this line, and hopefully I won't have any problems. It'll probably just be a little bit thicker on one side as opposed to the other. Alright, I'm getting fairly close. Alright, and then this is where when you get to the end of that line, you're going to go ahead and turn your selector knob. And again, mine does this straight stitch along the front part. To start, you're going to want to do your bar tacking that indicates the stopping point of your buttonhole, and then you're going to want to adjust your selector knob again to 3 so that it will stitch along the right side of your buttonhole. And then when you get to the end of that again, you're going to want to adjust your selector knob to 4 so that you can finish up that bar tack. And then your manual also suggests that you go back to, I believe, like a straight stitch and just do a couple straight stitches with your needle in the offset position to the left just to finish up that stitch line. Now when you're done, you're going to want to raise up your presser foot and go ahead and trim up those threads. Make sure that you trim up the bobbin threads on the front and the back. And then again, when you get done with your buttonhole, you can come in, and I'm going to use a pair of scissors because I don't trust myself with a seam ripper. And I'm going to come in and just gently snip right down that center line that was formed by this series of zigzags. And I'm going to make sure that I stop short and I don't cut through those bar tacking areas. And then I want to double check, make sure that my button goes through. And it does. It fits really nicely, so that's good. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and I'm going to finish these other two, my 2-hole and my 4-hole button lengths up. And what you're going to be doing the same thing. It's the exact same process. All it is it's a different length. And then when you're done with this, when you're done with putting in all 3 of these buttonholes, you're done with the sample. So just make sure that you label this sample as buttonhole, but keep it handy because our next sample is we're actually going to be attaching the buttons to another piece of fabric and placing those on the back side. So if you have any questions about just making sure that you have things lined up right, please ask me. I would like you to figure out how to figure your buttonhole length by yourself, because this is something that you will use the rest of your life. Okay? And I would make sure that you learn how to do this because this kind of, it's simple math. This type of simple math will show up on your quiz that is due on Friday. Okay, so make sure that you also mark that down in your agenda so that you don't forget to take that quiz.